This episode.
They say money can't buy happiness. Look at the fucking smile on my face. Ear to ear, baby. You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari, 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
The Life Advice email address is lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. Okay, checking in. 64200. Don't know how many Taliban members I could take one-on-one, but I definitely could take a couple CrossFit guys in a pull-up contest. The pull-up stuff just never ending. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I had a couple guys sending me Instagram videos of guys doing terrible pull-ups, asking me if I was great to grade their form, and I mean, all zeros across the board, just swinging like it's like a kid on the monkey bars at the park. It's ridiculous.
Right, but if that's the CrossFit, the kipping thing, then we've discussed that's fine. It's just not the same. That's the only statement this podcast has made. No one's knocking anything. It's not the same, and most people have agreed. So we're not worried about it anymore. So anyway, this past weekend, my wife and I went on a weekend trip to Vegas for the Raiders game. Longtime friend, let's call him David, was there for the game as well. So we met up with David and his wife after the game to grab some food and hit a casino. David and I grew up together, although we don't live in the same city now. We talk weekly, live in adjacent states, so we do see each other somewhat frequently. You guys live in different states and you still see each other all the time? That's pretty good. Our wives know each other through us, although not best friends. They get along pretty well. All right, so sounds good. So back to our post-game hangout. I went to the casino with the expectation that it wasn't going to be some unforgettable high-stakes night on the casino floor. No one's ideal gambling scenario involves their wife hanging over their shoulder, and I'd be back at work later that week. Plus, David and I both live close enough that we can hit up Vegas, so it's not like a one-and-done thing. They have family there, so this wasn't a huge amount of pressure. I plan to get a few chips on red, play some blackjack, and be in bed by 2 a.m. That's still a pretty good night, though. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. That's a Monday night, 2 a.m.er. But again, casino time, that's like 8:30. So you're right. I get your point. All right, here's where things get awkward. Bold font. David clearly had other plans for how he wanted this night to go, and I don't really have any other explanation for his motives other than he really wanted to piss off his wife. He kept making huge bets that were unlikely to hit, going back to the ATM for more cash, and seemed unfazed by his wife's pleading with him to stop. At one point, he was telling me how much she hates his gambling after she made a scene at the blackjack table when he lost another chunk of change. He seemed amused by it, despite me trying to not give his antics any oxygen. He was also giving some not-so-subtle commentary on other women, other female casino patrons right in front of his wife. Is this guy wasted? It was really weird situation for us to be in. Look, man, I've been in a relationship long enough that there are good days and bad days. Unfortunately, this isn't an isolated incident that I've observed with him doing stuff like this, even if this was an extreme case. My wife and I now find ourselves in a pickle for the four of us because we've been tentatively planning a vacation together this winter, and after feeling how uncomfortable they made us in a 3-hour shift in Vegas, we don't really want to go and subject ourselves to being in the middle of their unhealthy relationship for a whole week. What is the move here? Do we just come up with an excuse and fade out of the picture for this group vacation and keep postponing indefinitely till he forgets about it? Or do I shoot straight with him and tell him it kind of sucks being an observer, him being a dick to his wife? If I go with the latter, do I give him advice on how to improve his relationship? Let me know what you think, man. Tough one. Not easy. Some people would just continue to delay it. They would try the Don Draper route, where he keeps telling Pete Campbell and Trudy he will not come to their house in the suburbs. And if you remember that episode, he tries to cancel one last time. And Trudy's like, all right, we'll just reschedule. She's like, you're coming. And I already checked with your wife, and you're not doing anything. So this is happening. So she was super determined. And then Don finally just had to give in. So the long, hey, we have something going on that weekend, that's going to get exhausting. I know most people would do it because most people aren't as confrontational. It's just a pain in the ass. And if it's still your friend too, like you want to keep lying to your friend about why you can't do something every single time. So in a weird way, I mean, usually I'm pretty much take it on, head on here, but this is absolutely one of those cases. If he's this close of a friend, which clearly he is based on the resume you provided us here, why can't you go into it not in an attacking mode, but just say, hey man, what's up with you and the wife? All right. Do you want to talk to me about it? Because if it were the other way around, you would notice things too. And I'm not saying, and you could do it this way too, so maybe his feelings aren't hurt. But again, either he will or won't care. I don't know the guy clearly. If you said to some people like, hey man, you and your wife fight all the time, I don't want to be around it. I had a terrible, terrible college girlfriend relationship. And my friends were like, everything about you's great except for her. And when it's one of those nights where something's pissing you off and it just turns into a thing, you suck. You suck to be around. And the thing is, and that was when we did our, hey, what do we say behind each other's backs? And that, I do not recommend doing that with your friends, because there was some serious damage that was done that night. But I felt like I was like, oh, really? That's the only thing you guys say about me? Okay, I can handle that because it's accurate. It's accurate. You're right. Yeah. No, I was just like, look, Cerruti, I cannot debate this with you. You're right. I think it sucks too. And I actually, with some of the other shit other guys are saying about people, I felt like I got off. So I was like, I can handle that one. That's not that bad. Although there's probably something else you guys aren't telling me. I really, again, I just think people avoid confrontation, Cerruti, so much. But I would say this, be like, hey, it's not that I don't want to hang out with you. You know, I want to hang out with you. Okay. But now that we've got the wives situation here, like, where are you at right now to like, do you not want to be with her anymore? Because if you're going to fight the whole time like you did in Vegas, like, we can't do that. Now, yes, there's another part of it where he goes and tells her, and then she's mad at you and your wife. They're like, oh, fuck them. And you know what I mean? Like, there's very little accountability, I think, today. So I don't know if they'll own up to it. But that's pretty bad. That's a pretty bad scene. If your wife is begging you not to go back to the ATM and you're like, fuck it, hit me. Oh, look at this hot girl at the blackjack table. Like, that's a problem. Unless it was just a one-off and he was wasted. And, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but there are times you can be like, hey, that's not normal. And it sounds like this is normal. And you're not mentioning at any point that he was just drinking so much that was the catalyst for this kind of night. So I would tell him and be like, it's not that I don't. So you kind of keep yourself like the line of communication. You don't want to be like attacking. You just want to be straight up, because I would personally find it exhausting to keep making up lies for why I couldn't do something. And maybe he'll, maybe, I don't know if he's going to change, or maybe he opens up about the relationship, but at least gives you some kind of like default thing where he maybe stops asking you until he figures out his own shit.
So I think everything you said is spot on. And I think guys a lot of the time are uncomfortable, obviously, talking with their friends about their feelings and stuff that's going on and problems, right, in their lives. Like, I know with my group of friends, like, we are not the most emotionally competent people. We're trying to get better at it. But clearly, I think this guy, that your friend is, it's almost like a cry out for help, right? He's like a toddler kind of making a scene because he wants attention. I almost feel like maybe he's afraid to ask you or tell you or open up with you. So he's kind of making a scene because he wants to talk about what the problems in his marriage or the problems in his life. And he'll probably, I think, appreciate you noticing and actually caring enough to mention it. And I think if you ignore it, you're right. Like, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. And here's the thing, you could ignore it, and then if he actually confronts you on it, you can say, hey man, here's the real reason, so you can kind of get out of it that way. But I think you just kind of rip the Band-Aid off, because it kind of feels like this guy is crying out for help, man. So I think you should help your friend.
Stefan, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not married, so I can't go that far. But I would.
Hey, it hasn't stopped me for a year, so don't worry about it.
But I will say that, yeah, he should have that conversation with his friend, because it's like, it could go really bad. Like, say they actually do want to go on a vacation, his friend goes like to the next level and does it somewhere far away from home. It's like, damn, now we're here. It's awkward. The house is silent. Everybody's eating, like, not saying anything to each other. It just feels weird. Like, all right, I'm ready to go home. So yeah, he probably should just take him to the side or just call him one day and say, hey, what's going on at home? Like, clearly something is wrong. You want to talk about it. If he doesn't, then hey, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, this would be the best way to just, like, if I said to you, what if you in a year have to tell him, yeah, I've been lying and making excuses because my wife and I don't want to hang out with you and your wife. Like, think about that version of this. Instead of just now going, hey, you want to talk a little bit here? Like, next time we're in town, let's talk. It's not a huge deal. Just want to talk with you. Or you can just do it over the phone and get it over with, whatever. But I personally, if I were the other end of it and be like, so wait a minute, you just lied for an entire year because of something that I'm doing, I'd be way more pissed than you saying to me. And look, I'm telling you, I think more people would probably go down that road. Like, oh, parents are in town. Oh my God, we got soccer practice. Like, soccer practice? You don't even have a kid. And you're like, no, it's my soccer practice. I'm like, wait, what? And then it's like, how many relatives do you have? You're like, wait, you're going to the Poconos again? Poconos geographically doesn't match up with the email, but you get the point. Right. Yeah. Well, that's why they're busy all the time. They keep going to the Poconos. All right. This one's a little tougher, but we're going to do it. Because it's serious, and it's also something that I had to deal with as well. but I wanted to read it. All right. Former D1 baseball player, 5'11", 200, living in the Northeast. I calculate macros. Oh, great. Cool. You weigh your food. Anyway, as you may have noted in the subject line, my girlfriend is dealing with a Gone Guy situation. Terrific movie. Haven't read the book. Kind of want to read the book. Not a huge nonfiction or fiction guy, but you know what? You probably didn't care about that part of the email, so keep it moving, Russillo. Jesus. Over the past year of knowing one another, we have discussed our paths of how we arrived single and divorced in our mid-30s. Not that there is anything wrong with that, of course. And this time she's mentioned that she has a stalker who pops up in the DMs of whomever she is dating at the time. Sweet. Before Amanda, not her real name, knew me, there have been a number of instances where the stalker would send pictures to either her or the guy she is dating or one or both of the residents. Wait a minute, what? The stalker would send pictures to either her or the guy she is dating of one or both of their residences while they were inside. All right, well, that's scary and it sucks. So the stalker's taking pictures of the girl and the new boyfriend while they're inside their own houses. The stalker would also send her and her boyfriend's extremely frightening text messages from random numbers, which caused her a great amount of fear. Amanda, using a fake name, again, did not confide in many people about this, only her close friends who did not live in the area, and her on and off again ex-boyfriend. Given that her ex-boyfriend was in close proximity to her, he would always call her, text her, and sometimes go to her residence to console her while she was hysterical. It got so bad to the point where she had to move. She did not tell many people about her new residence in fear that she would be found by the stalker. Yet lo and behold, the stalker would send pictures of her new residence along with extremely creepy messages. All the while, she was afraid, ashamed, and embarrassed about the situation, never got the police involved. Probably a mistake. That's his term, not mine, the police part of this. This would ebb and flow for a while, constantly updating her friends and her ex-boyfriend about every instance. Amanda doesn't have many friends. I've met a few of them over the past year, and I've only heard her speak of her close male friends, Frank, who's a police officer, Tom, and Jerry. And Jerry's the ex-boyfriend. All right, so Frank, police officer, Tom, and then Jerry, who's the ex-boyfriend. I'm not the jealous type, and she's free to talk to whomever she pleases, as she has stayed close with Jerry. About a month or two before Amanda and I started dating, Jerry had invited her to a wedding, and she accepted. However, after she started dating, she told Jerry that it would not be a good idea for her to go to the wedding, and Jerry had a major outburst. Then about 2 months after that, I received a scathing text message from what seemed to be her stalker. I quickly took a screenshot, sent it to Amanda. Luckily, this time she contacted Frank, the cop. Frank was able to find that the message was sent from a scrambler, so the location wasn't easily traceable. Frank and her then started brainstorming to see how they could catch the individual. She's always been suspicious that it could have been Jerry. But in the back of her mind, she kept thinking, why would one individual who always was there for me do this to me? Especially while I was so fragile and scared. Ever since I received the message, her fear started to come back, and it's been heavily weighing on her, so she decided to go for it. She sent the text to Jerry this past Monday, and it read, quote, I think the stalker's back, and they sent a terrible message to my boyfriend. I decided to get the cops involved at this point. I'm sick of this BS. They ran the cell number, and it was scrambled. So now they're trying to trace the IP address. I showed them the previous messages, screenshots, and they think they can get whomever it is on multiple accounts of harassment. This is so annoying. You know how much this affects me. And the dramatic climax leads to this. Not even 5 minutes after she fired off that text, Jerry called her, admitted to everything, and begged her to not get him arrested. Here's where I need your help. I've been pushing her to give this guy what he deserves. She's afraid that if this guy Jerry has nothing left, he might be bound to do something incredibly horrific. What should the appropriate next steps be? Because I feel like this has to be her decision, but at the same time, people like this should not be left off easily. All right. You can probably do better than just me as a guy hosting the podcast for the advice here. This is infuriating. And I think what you said is the most important thing. It has to be her decision. It absolutely has to be her decision because she's the one that's dealing with this fear. I can only tell you from my one experience with it, and we've already talked about this publicly on the podcast a few times. When I lived with Carissa Thompson, my dear friend in Malibu, and she was gone, and I came home after a very early dinner watching some Warriors hoops, and I walked in, and there was this fucking guy standing outside of her house waiting for her, who lied and said that he was invited to stay there, and his story slowly fell apart as I asked every single question. And by the way, this piece of shit listens to this podcast, you fuck, and you also posted my sister's home address and my father's cell phone number to fuck with me on Instagram, so I know who you are. That's all true. But, you know, I can't really do anything about it because, you know, it's not my fight. So I get it. I mean, it's the kind of thing. It's like, well, if I totally go after this person, Does it start it all up again? Maybe he's so scared now. I mean, I'm not going to have a great answer for you here now, other than I think your head is in the right place, because it's ultimately, you can't go around her back and be like, hey, actually, these are all these things I did. And then now she's living. I mean, it just sucks, man. It's just a reminder, whatever differences we have, male, female, that was a moment for me. Not that I was oblivious to it, but it was a reminder of like, thank God I was here. Because if you're a woman, you're, especially in my case, a woman that's in the public spotlight, you're just dealing with stuff that you don't even think about. Like you don't even realize it sometimes as a guy. You just don't. So, I mean, it'd be great if you could talk to him. I don't know if you want to get involved with that. I don't know if you'd be able to restrain yourself. I don't know the size of this other guy or what his background is. It'd be maybe great if you could have Frank, who is the cop here, handle this in a non-cop way, where there's a sit down where Frank, the cop, who's very close to your girlfriend, goes to Jerry and just says, hey, man, here's the deal. Like, we've got you dead to rights. How do you want to handle this? And hope that's enough to scare this guy. I think the good news in this is that once she called him and then he admitted to everything, you hope that's the wake-up call, right? You hope that's the wake-up call. None of us can guarantee that. You don't know. Part of me just wishes, like, yeah, you wish you could go after all these people, and that would be the best way to handle it. But there's always kind of that fear. If you're willing to go this far, like this guy has been for years, or in my case, some guy that showed up to someone's house, and we had the video evidence of him checking under plants and doormats and trying windows. It was all in the security cam before I even showed up to the house, which was horrifying to watch the next day. There's fear there. So, at least you know who it is now. I think the cop, as I'm talking this out, I think maybe the best thing would be to ask the cop if all of you guys are that close and he cares about your girlfriend enough. And you're like, hey, is there any way you can just kind of talk to this guy and try to get where his head's at? But I mean, there's no guarantee with any of that stuff. So I don't think there's a perfect answer, but I think everything you've said here is the foundation of having like the right, you have enough common sense, like your heart's in the right place. I think everything you've done to this point is spot on. I wish there was a great way to solve this without it. I mean, look, we could just all go meathead and be like, oh, just kick his ass. But, you don't know what that's going to do. You don't. I mean, maybe you get in trouble. Maybe it motivates the other person to want to fight back even more. You know what I mean? You don't know the solution here. But if he's this scared that he admitted everything, once your girlfriend started talking about getting the police involved and that they'd be able to track this guy down, I'm hoping, and again, maybe that's false hope, but hoping that that would be enough to kind of shake him out of this pattern of being a guy that's messing with people's lives. What these stalkers don't realize is like, well, again, sometimes there's some mental health stuff with it too, which is not absolving the blame, but you can absolutely ruin people's lives with your obsession with other people. And, I don't know if people can understand what that's like, especially to be a female, to live in that kind of fear because of these kinds of incidents. And I saw it firsthand. I don't know if there's really much to add to that. So if you guys want to lay out on that one, no problem.
No, I think you summed it up well. I think the overarching theme is, it sucks that women have to go through this. And, I think your answer about, getting the cop involved probably makes the most sense. And maybe that scares this guy, Jerry, into just going away. But, the other end of that spectrum is that it kind of sets him off too. So there's really no right answer, but whatever you do, she has to be comfortable with it. That's the most important part.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So, all right. That's the end of the podcast. This was a good one. So we'll be back on Friday with Danny Cannell, and we'll do some football stuff as well. Maybe a little NBA facts with this John Wall deal, which we did not get to today because I'm not sure what the hell's going to happen. I always leave out like a little bit of percent of hope of a deal that nobody could see coming happening, but $91.7 million left on that deal. That's going to be a tough one to move.
Another untradeable contract that's about to be traded, though, Ryan. I feel like there are no untradeable contracts.
There really aren't. But this one smells a little bit more like a buyout. But again, I don't have a ton of intel on this right now. So Hey, thanks to Stefan and stepping up for Kyle. Kyle will be back on Friday. And Rudy, please subscribe.